What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So check this out. Sega released the other 10 games that's going to be on their Genesis Mini, and this is something else. One of the games on there really caught me by surprise, and I'm really excited for this thing. I was already excited before, right? Because we had 20 games revealed. Now we have another 10. There's still 10 more, by the way, to be revealed, and we're going to go over the 10 and the one that really surprised me and has me just extremely excited right now for this thing. It's going to be pretty interesting to see what M2 does with this game as well. And we did have floor plans revealed for E3 that shows us where Nintendo is going to be, and actually some strange absences here from some other companies. So we're gonna go over all of that and more today, guys. As always, enjoy these videos. Make sure to like button. It does help out. We're gonna start today with I Am 8-Bit, as they are doing an Earthworm Jim release for the Super Nintendo. Yeah, weird, right? Yeah, check this out. This is actually the cart that they're going to be releasing, and it's a 2-in-1, so it has Earthworm Jim 1 and 2 in there with a limited edition of 2,000 of these are going to be sent out. They're going for $135 each. I'm sure there's probably a shipping charge on it as well. Now, I Am 8-Bit they've done a couple releases. I know they did Street Fighter. I think they've done Mega Man as well, but this is kind of neat to see. And 1 in 20 that they send out will have kind of this cow look to it. With kind of the black spots on white, so that's neat as well. Although, I guess if you don't want that and you want the regular one, maybe you can tell them. But either way, that's pretty cool. Box, a bunch of packing stuff. It looks pretty neat overall. A little pricey for me, I'll be honest. But if you're an Earthworm Jim fan, you're probably pretty excited to see this. And don't worry, Nate, they did say that the original person who made it is not getting any money or involved in any way. We also had Octopath Traveler go up for pre-order on Steam yesterday, and it kind of surprised a few people because I think some were thinking it would be a little cheaper. No, it's still $60. See, Square, it looks like they are looking to get quite a bit of money for it, as I think they should, because the game is good. Although, of course, when late ports go to systems that's not the Switch, generally, people expect it to be cheaper. Octopath Traveler, though, is not going to go down that path. As we can say here, their full page shows that, and then they also show some system requirements that are actually, I guess, a little more than I thought they would need for this. I mean, it has a GTX 750 as, I guess, the baseline for minimum requirements, although I'm sure people will push that, and then, of course, if according to them, recommended is a GTX 1060 and up. So if you want to, max out the resolution, maybe 4K, high frame rates, you might need a bit better, 1070 maybe, but overall this is an RPG, so you can probably get away with mostly the bare minimum. I'll be curious to see how bare minimum we can get with this game, because yeah, it looked nice, but the kind of the style of it, I think some older PCs and video cards should be able to get away with it, but I'll be curious to see how much they can get away with. We also had quite a bit of mayhem yesterday on the Epic Games Store. Now, Epic, of course, has done all kinds of stuff to work to push Steam around and try to grab market share from them, whether it's pulling up exclusives or just taking outright shots at them. Well, this time they decided to do a full-on sale, and what's interesting here is Epic decided to eat the cost of everything. So they didn't put it back on the publisher or the developer or anything. No, they said, hey, anything gets discounted, we'll eat the cost on that. You guys will still get all the money and everything. And they did some pretty good deals, actually. John Wick Hex isn't even out yet, and they marked that thing down to $8. Now, I did notice as people were talking, there were some games that apparently just disappeared off of here during the sale, which is odd to me. I'm not really sure why, but I mean, you go through it, it is something else. I believe Hades was also raised in price for whatever reason, but Shakedown Hawaii is $10. They marked it half, so it's 50% off, right? Beyond Two Souls is $10. Detroit Become Human was is $30. So yeah, they went around just slashing prices. I mean, World War Z is $20. So they went around, yeah. This looks good. If Epic keeps doing these sales, again, how many of these type of sales they can do where they eat the cost completely, I'm not sure. But I do like these kind of sales. I look forward to Steam sales a lot, and to see Epic doing it as well, even on a grander scale where everything is on sale. Apparently, if it was above $15, you can just take $10 off of it straight up. So it's pretty crazy. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with the Sega Mini, the Genesis Mini that's coming out, because we got the next 10 games revealed, and check this out. So we have 10 here. We're going to go down them, and then we're going to come back to the one I was talking about, which is at the top there. That is Mega Man: The Wily Wars. Then we have Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition. I'm not sure how that's going to work well with the 3-button controller, although Sean did a video yesterday and said that the Retrobit 6-button USB controllers will work apparently, so there's that. Odd choice, though, to ship with a 3-button controller. Ghouls and Ghosts, Alex Kidd, Beyond Oasis, actually a good one as well. Golden Axe, Phantasy Star 4, Sonic the Hedgehog Spinball. I think it's just Sonic Spinball, right? It's weird. Vector Man, and then Wonder Boy in Monster World. Another good one there. Okay, Mega Man: The Wily Wars has me completely sold on this thing. So if you don't know about this game, it was released out in out east or in Europe and everything as well, and it was released there. It came to North America through the Sega channel, and that was pretty much it from what I ever saw. I never saw it released physically or anything. Sega threw it on there, and that was it. And then, of course, the Sega channel died off along with that. Pulseman was another one. I think it might have been Alien Soldier, might have been another one. I know Pulseman was on there, though, because I remember actually playing that one. I hope that's in the next 10. But Wily Wars coming over is big. If you have no idea what Wily Wars, very quickly, it was the first 3 Mega Man games that were kind of put into 16-bit visuals and put on like a compilation cartridge, basically. And there were some issues on the Genesis or the Mega Drive, I guess, in Europe and everything. And a lot of that had to do with slowdown. So I'm very, very curious how M2 will address that. Will they leave it straight up as, well, a lot of people unfortunately knew about it back then and just leave the slowdown in? Because unfortunately, when a lot of things were on screen, it became like slow motion, essentially. So if they can get rid of that, that would actually be really, really fun to play, and I would like to check it out in that way. But this is big because Sega, they are pulling out all the stops. At this point, I mean, it's over. The Genesis Mini is better than the PlayStation Classic. Just from a game selection, I'd like to think emulation-wise, it can't be any worse, like at all. So as long as M2 kind of keeps up their little legacy here, where they're very good at porting stuff and making things work through emulation, Sega has something here. And I can't wait to check it out. And we still have 10 more games to see. So I'm thinking maybe Pulseman. Can we do Pulseman, Sega? Is that allowed? I mean, that was on the Sega channel and it never showed up. Let's get another game that's never come out before in like North America or worldwide. Pulseman, I think, is a good one. I think I would raise some eyebrows. Honestly, this Wily Wars one, that should have been, I think, the big reveal as the last batch of games, unless you have something crazier. What else could they do? Now I'm honestly curious. What you guys have to let me know. Was there a game that was like in prototype that never came out? One that was like a long lost game similar to like Star Fox 2? I'm not really thinking of any, but let me know if you have any of those ideas, because at this point, seriously, anything's on the table here for Sega. They're going to do whatever they can to make this good, and I'm really excited to pick one of these up at the end of the year. Next up, let's talk about Super Mario Maker 2. There's a lot of confusion around this game. I think a lot of it had to do with it not being super clear-cut in that direct about multiplayer, specifically local multiplayer with one Nintendo Switch unit. We're talking a bit about that, and then we also have the file size. The file size for this thing is, of course, pretty small. It's 2.8 gigabytes, and this is according to Nintendo's own page that they put up that you can see. 2.8 gigabytes, cloud saves and everything, all of that is there. But that's a good size. I'm happy with that. Very small, awesome to see. But the question has been, what is the deal with the multiplayer offline with one Switch unit? Because people are really concerned that it just doesn't exist. Like, it's like you got co-op to build, and then you play one person, you switch controllers around. Doesn't appear to be the case, at least from what we're seeing. Now, you had to dig a little bit to see this, but on Nintendo's Japan page, you can actually see here, scrolling all the way down, and it being translated, you can see they have several graphics up to kind of describe number of players who can play with one Switch main unit, and below that, TV mode 1 to 4. The little asterisk there says 1 Joy-Con is required for each player, and then they also do say that compatible controllers range from like all of them, including the Switch Pro controller all the way on the right there. But yeah, tabletop mode 1 to 4, 1 to 4 for TV mode, all local, of course, with one Switch main unit, and then of course mobile mode, one person, because that's basically the handheld mode where you're holding it and looking at it. So yes, good news to people who were like confused or not sure or were worried. Yes, it does look like there is going to be 4-player, same screen multiplayer local. At least from everything we've seen here, graphics and information Nintendo themselves have put out. So wow, this looks like something else. I'm excited. Mario Maker 2 looks like it's going to be a really good time. It looks like they packed in a ton of features. Online multiplayer for the first time that I've ever seen in a Mario game officially released by Nintendo like this, where it's 2D platforming Mario. Exciting stuff. And we have that local, just local co-op play on the same screen, or I guess technically competitive as well as, let's face it, you're probably going to jump on somebody when they're trying to jump across a pit and kill them. But hey, it's Mario, so it's fun. Next up, let's talk about E3 and the floor plans. We have, of course, floor plans for all the different companies that are taking place on the floor that you can go and play games. They'll have like booths set up and everything to show off different items and maybe even some systems. I don't know. Maybe Sega will be there with their plug and play. We'll see. But we, of course, have Nintendo there. Sony is not there, so the map is a little different now. But let's start here. As you're seeing, you can actually see Nintendo. This is in the West Hall. Nintendo of America has very large booths there surrounding Oculus, which is interesting. So I'm sure Nintendo and Oculus can compare their VR units with the Labo and everything. So there you go. Sega is directly next to Nintendo of America as well. Normally, right across from there would actually be Sony. Like, Sony would take up a large chunk of that West Hall as well, directly across from Nintendo. Not there at this time. They're just gone, right? It's not a thing. But E3 Sports Zone there. If we jump over to the South Hall, we of course have Bethesda, Epic Games, 2K, Square Enix, Ubisoft, Warner Bros., which maybe Rocksteady will be there and showing off their game. Interesting. Look at THQ Nordic in there. Hey, go THQ Nordic. You keep making games and porting them to the Switch, you know? Capcom is also over on the right, and Bandai Namco is right there next to Bethesda. So you may have noticed I did not say anything about Activision. As far as I can tell, they are not there on the floor. EA, not there on the floor. Of course, they're doing their own EA Play, so I guess that makes sense, but maybe you want to be there on the floor to show stuff off and let just the general public play. But they could also be in booths, I guess, otherwise. It's weird because at this point, Microsoft doesn't really have a booth there. They have their own thing going on. Sony's not there. Otherwise, I'm sure things like FIFA would be in Sony's booth and stuff. I guess they'll be in Nintendo's. So there's that. But yeah, it's going to be weird. I think at E3 this year. It's going to tell us a lot about the future, I think, especially going into next year with the new consoles. Does Sony come back? You know, because at this point, Nintendo's like the one out of the big three holding it down in the West Hall on the floor, in the trenches, if you will, with the public and everything. So it'll be interesting to see, but Nintendo has quite a large space there as usual. So it looks like they'll have plenty to show off. We'll see what they dress it all up in and everything. It should be exciting. And our last bit of news, what if you took the Super Nintendo and it has a 4:3 aspect ratio, but what if it wasn't a 4:3 aspect ratio anymore? What if it was, I don't know, full widescreen, like 16:9, 16:10, I guess, 21:9, basically widescreen without it being stretched. Generally with emulators, we'll stretch it. Like if you have, I guess at this point, the Super Nintendo clone systems or whatnot that might stretch it on its own, or the Super Nintendo Mini, or anything that plays these games away from original hardware, you could generally stretch it or play around with the image, but it doesn't add the extra screen real estate that's going on in the world. At least not until now. This is really, really cool. Of course, SNES is like the best emulator ever for Super Nintendo games, and check these screenshots out. We also have some footage that you can see, and you're seeing this right. They figured out how to actually do widescreen in Super Nintendo games, and unfortunately, some of it looks pretty broken, and I think you're gonna have some touch-ups with ROM hacking and stuff, kind of fix that. Maybe you'll have patches similar to the MSU patches that were put out for music, but this is so cool to see. I mean, it's weird. Like, I was looking at the screenshots, and then I looked at the video that a person actually put up for Super Mario World, and it was blowing my mind the entire time watching it, because it's not stretched, but there's so much more you can see on either end of Mario. There were also screenshots for Link to the Past and stuff, and the UI looked really small at the top. It was pretty cool to see. Now, games with Mode 7 are buggy. Donkey Kong Country will just crash, but it's a work in progress. It's something that was introduced fairly recently, and I wanted to show you guys, because I think it is super cool to see this stuff, and I have a strong feeling people will at least patch the really popular, really interesting games that people played all the time, so it'd be something to check out, because it will seriously, one, it'll look a lot better on computer monitors monitors that we play on. So that's the first thing. And two, we'll see these games like a whole new light. It's so neat to see. And our comment of the day from yesterday actually comes from Double Animations, as you're seeing here. Watch none of the AAA games from Ubisoft be Rayman. And this is actually talking about Rayman, of course, from Ubisoft, as I talked about yesterday, there being several AAA games, again, AAA games from Ubisoft. They actually define AAA, I think, as anything north of 50 million or something in a budget. Ubisoft has some interesting definitions for these things. But yes, they actually define AAA. So there you go. Talking about Rayman, here's the thing. I don't think Ubisoft sees Rayman as a AAA IP anymore. I think it's single A or double A. I mean, what they put him in, like the brawling game now as a guest character. They'll probably still have a little game for Rayman, but I don't think that's going to be something, that 2D style game that they drop tens of millions of dollars into developing. I think they would still do it, but it just wouldn't be on this massive scale. They would have to heavily reinvent Rayman for Rayman to ever be what Rayman was back in the, PS1, PS2, I guess. I mean, their last game was good, right? But if you look at it, is it like a 5, 6, 7, 8 million unit seller, one that you would drop $50 million into developing? Probably not, again, unless they did something to reinvent the Rayman IP, but hey, you never know. Ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure to hit the like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it is the Wily Wars, going to the Sega Genesis Mini. It's insane to think about, but it tells me that honestly, the floodgates are open and the last 10 games are gonna be super interesting to see. Let me know if you actually played that on the Sega channel like I did, and what your thoughts were on it there. Also, let me know what you think about E3, the floor space, I guess just Activision being absent from the floor space, EA. It's gonna be a weird year at E3, but I'm excited. It's starting to feel like E3 around here. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.